I'd like to watch someone that I do usually like. And I put usually because a few times I've disagreed, and his name is loanwords. But differently from the guys that sometimes we review on this channel that are complete frauds, loanwords is really good. It's a channel that if you not only are interested in language learning, but mostly etymology and the history of words, I strongly suggest to check him out. And he's a really good channel. Now, I had a cursory glance at this video of his, which is from 2 years ago, given. So, I mean, if you check out some of the stuff I posted 2 years ago and did a reaction, some of it was cringe. Again, maybe he has changed his mind. But anyways, he titled it A Traveler's Guide to Japanese. We appreciate a double L for the British spelling, for those of you who don't know. I watched a little bit of this, and I think there is some misinformation. With that being said, it doesn't take away from the guy. I think Rob is great. But let me see if I can correct something, because since he is an educator, I think he would appreciate it, just like I would appreciate it. If I say something wrong about English, for instance, he's English, and he corrects me, I'm not going to have a problem with that. I'm going to be like, thank you very much for the correction. So let's go.
Japanese is more English than you think.
Okay.
Yes, it has the look of an unsolvable riddle, but hidden within these symbols are words that you'd recognize. In this video, let's untangle some of the mysteries of Japanese and ask, is Japanese as complicated as it looks?
The answer is yes to that, by the way.
Could I learn enough to not make a fool of myself on a visit there? What words would I need to get by? And can I trust the vocab in my guidebook?
No.
In the few short weeks I've spent here in Japan, I've decided that I love the language, and
likewise. So far, very good introduction.
I think that you could too. So let's Nihongo with another Rob words. Greetings.
I thought that was a pretty clever one, like Nihongo, but Nihongo. Nice.
From Okinawa, the final stop on a trip I've been doing around Japan. Actually,
awesome.
I've been on holiday. Elodie, can I say it's honeymoon?
Honeymoon.
I've been on honeymoon.
Wow.
Anyway, because I just can't help myself, I've been taking every possible opportunity to ask the locals about their language. So let's call this a tourist's guide to Japanese.
Sounds
One,
good.
because I think it's going to be helpful to people traveling to Japan. And two, because I'm a tourist. Before I traveled here, I knew embarrassingly little about the lingo, and I looked for a good video that could tell me about the language, a few handy phrases and this and that, and I didn't find one that cut it. So
I should make one.
this is me making that video.
Let's go.
Whereas the Japanese get to learn English from a talking cat, you get me. Don't get me wrong, I still can't speak Japanese.
Of course.
After 3 weeks, are you kidding? But this is everything I wish I knew about Japanese before I got here.
So, as you see, I think he's very well-meaning. He seems like a legitimately nice guy. But do keep in mind what he just stated. He doesn't know Japanese. He has no idea, no training. So we do have to take what he says about the Japanese language with a pinch of salt. Not trying to be pedantic. Well, yes, I am pedantic. But I'm not trying to be disrespectful or anything. It is what it is.
I'm giving you a 3-week head start.
Okay.
Let's get cracking.
Let's go.
So let's start with the fact that Japanese is unique.
Correct.
It is unlike any other major language. Like the islands of Japan themselves, it's a thing apart. It's thought it may be related to Korean way back, but that actually hasn't even been proven. You also might think, to look at it, that it's kind of like Chinese, but it absolutely isn't.
Okay, so the etymological part is where he shines. So you notice he's talking about language families and the evolution and development of languages and whether or not some languages are related to each other. That's, I think, where he excels at. Because I'll be honest with you, I don't actually know if he speaks any other language, to be honest. Now, he's going to compare Japanese and Chinese. Isn't there any connection between Japanese and Chinese? There is, but I'm going to let him speak. I don't want to, of course, put words in his mouth or create a straw man. There is a connection, but now he's going to, let's see, what has he got? Ryoku-cha o nomi sugita, so I've drank too much green tea, yes, and then he went for the Chinese version, 我喝了太多绿茶.
Here's what Japanese sounds like.
緑茶を飲みすぎた.
And here's what Mandarin sounds like.
我喝了太多绿茶。
So if you notice, the only two words that actually sounded similar was the word for tea, which in Japanese is cha. In isolation, often they put the honorific in front of it, ocha. But in this case, it's not here because it's green tea. And so already you've got this as a adjectival modification of the noun. So you don't need to put the o here. It becomes ryokucha. But then again, cha is the word. And it does come from Chinese because the Chinese, which is over here, you can see it's the same character. The Chinese in Mandarin pronounce it cha, second tone. So the only difference is that this one is tonal, this one is pitch-based.
Knowing Chinese isn't going to help you speak Japanese a whole lot more than knowing English. Sure, Japanese has borrowed a lot of words from Chinese. Around half of Japanese words have Chinese origins. But the grammar, pronunciation, tones of Mandarin, totally irrelevant to Japanese. Knowing Chinese will, however, help you to read it, which brings me to another reason that Japanese is unique and kind of scary.
So he's correct. The major overlap between Chinese and Japanese, and when we say Chinese again, we mean Mandarin, is the writing system. It's not identical, but there is a lot of overlap. Of course, the Chinese characters have been simplified by the Communist Party, and so some are not recognizable, but others are. They're similar, just a little simpler, and others are completely different. Like if you look at the character for dragon in Japanese, which is connected to how Chinese used to write it, and they still do, but only when it's an artistic form. The simplified version is irrecognizable if you don't know it. And there are a few that are like that, but you can still kind of figure it out, sort of. Sometimes you won't, there are false friends. There is a little bit, it's not zero, no. What he said now, this one, I'm being nitpicky, but just so you know, there are some words you can recognize with the pronunciation alone. It's just that it's not that many, because a lot of pronunciation of Sino-Japanese characters, so Japanese that are read in the onyomi, characters that are read based on the Japanese version of an original Chinese pronunciation, are actually connected to classical Chinese or Chinese that isn't modern Mandarin or Putonghua specifically. So the standard Mandarin that is derived from Beijing, so Peking or Beijing, the capital. So he's right, but it's not like this is the same as English. There is a little bit of similarity, just like we just showed it when it comes to the word for tea. You can recognize it if you come from Mandarin, for instance.
It has 3 alphabets.
Okay.
3! One of them is the Chinese alphabet, where each symbol essentially represents a word or a concept. But the other 2 are much more like what we would consider an alphabet to be, with each symbol representing just a sound. You build a word by piecing together these sounds. Each of the 3 alphabets has its own specific uses, which I won't get too much into, but you'll find characters from all 3 alphabets jumbled together on signs.
Yes.
It's confusing.
Yes.
But don't worry. If you're going to Japan, you do not need to learn these 3 alphabets because they've all been helpfully transliterated into the Roman alphabet. That's our alphabet for us. So you can at least have a go at saying the words out loud. And that brings me to my next point.
So before we jump into the next point, just one thing that I'd like to underline. Here we go. So, katakana and hiragana are indeed alphabets. They are phonetic alphabets specifically. Kanji, or the characters, the one that is based on the Chinese Hanzi, this is not an alphabet. And it's because he said it so many times in a row. As someone who has majored in Japanese, I do want to underline this. So kanji and these characters here, it's not a form of alphabet. It's incorrect to refer to this as an alphabet, and it's more correctly considered a logographic writing system. Just to be clear.
That brings me to my next point. You know more Japanese than you think. So how can that be? Well, for one thing, a full 10% of Japanese words are borrowed from English. I mean, you won't necessarily recognize them first off because
very good.
The Japanese pronunciations can be a little funky. See, toilet.
トイレ
A really useful one. Also, glass.
ガラス
And another example, elevator.
エレベーター
And also, an aside, there's a precursor to J-pop from the 70s and 80s that we call in English city pop, and in Japanese they call it that too, but it's not how they say it.
Yeah, because the Japanese don't have the sound si, so it will turn into shi. So shitty pop. It's kind of funny actually that he found that one out.
Anyway, going back to toilet, glass and elevator, you'll notice that they're having a bit of a shocker with English's L sound. And that's because Japanese has a sound that English doesn't have. That is halfway between an L and R. It's actually a good one to practice. It involves tapping your gums just behind your top front teeth. Practice saying butter with an American accent. As perfect as that, I'm sure. If you don't already have an American accent, that is. And it's that sound in the middle, butter. That LR...
That's called flapping, technically. So it's not only, by the way, it's very famously connected to American English, is correct, because, yeah, even I don't have it. I say butter. Yeah, butter, I guess. I might have butchered it. Or beauty, beautiful, British instead of British. But Australians have it too, by the way. The Australians do flap quite a bit. They do it. It's just that because it's an Australian accent, it will sound butter. I don't know if you ever noticed that. So the Australians do flap. In England, usually you don't. If you really don't feel like pronouncing the T, what you end up doing is using a glottal stop and you just eat it out. You eat it up. You say British, so, like water, if you're like one of those. But yeah, so there is that. Anyways, let's go.
Sound in Japanese is actually a rare species, i.e. a sound that English doesn't have, because unbelievably and luckily, English speakers can automatically articulate 80%. That's almost all sounds in Japanese.
I do want to comment on this. What does this mean? I have actually once, believe it or not, I was talking to Matt Easton to bring him up after so many years. And I remember that he was talking about Japanese weapons. And we were talking a little bit. And then at one point, there was one weapon, he pronounced it right. And so I told him that. I told him, hey, you pronounce this word. Because I know how they're pronounced, right? Because I do speak Japanese. And he gave me a very strange answer. He said, oh yeah, because for us, for English people, it's actually very easy to pronounce Japanese. And I feel like that it's similar to this. And that's not true. So believe it or not, if your native tongue is a Romance language, it will be easier for you to pronounce Japanese than it is for an Anglophone. Does this mean that Anglophone speakers can never get Japanese right? No, in fact, it's going to be easier for you to pronounce the Mandarin, particularly if you're not trained for tones. But this idea that 80% of words, like, it's a little misleading. I'm not saying that he's lying. I'm not saying that this is, oh, he made a huge mistake. He didn't make a huge mistake. I just wanted to be clarified a little bit. When you, as an Anglophone speaker, whether you be American or English, if you pronounce Japanese without being trained, because this implies without being trained, if you try and pronounce Japanese, you will sound exactly like the Japanese when they pronounce English. So when you hear something like McDonald's, or you hear something like garasu, erebeta, those kind of sounds that he just underlined, that's how you sound to them if you have zero training and say arigato. Just so we're clear. It takes effort, it takes study to go from I have such a thick accent they might misunderstand me to I have an accent and they know exactly where I'm from, but they do understand me, to I actually sound really good. You can tell I'm foreign, but I sound really good, to I mastered the pitch accent and they think I was brought up here. These are levels, and you don't have to get to the highest, by the way. A lot of people stop a little earlier. I myself am still working through the pitch accent, and I've been studying Japanese for a decade. With that being said, though, it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work to sound good in Japanese. Just wanted to clarify that one for learners.
What a gift! The crow agrees. What's more, those words transcribed into the Roman alphabet, or Romaji as it's known, have been transcribed with English in mind.
Case in point, Romaji is extended rather than Romaji. Not a big deal, although lengthening of words, so phonemic, particularly if it's phonemic, so it changes the meaning, and oftentimes it does in Japanese. But even if it wasn't, and we're just talking about vowel lengthening, is a crucial aspect of Japanese as a language. And I have had situations in Japan where I didn't lengthen a vowel the way I was supposed to, and they did misunderstand me. Now, many times it doesn't happen. I mean, if particularly with the pitch accent, if you use the wrong pitch accent, it's not like people are gonna think, oh, did you mean that you gave a nose to that girl yesterday night during the date, or you brought her flowers? Obviously, people are gonna understand it from the context, but there are situations when the lengthening that you see here, it's literally, this is what this bar means. It means take this syllable, ro, and lengthen it to at least double its length. Ro, and then ma, which means the city of Rome. Roma, Roma. That's exactly what it is. And G means character.
Designed to be read out loud by English speakers.
By everyone.
It's another gift. So Japanese really is trying its absolute hardest to be as easy for English speakers to have a go at as possible. Right, you'll must have Japanese vocab still to come, including some
let's go.
home truths about Japanese that you think you already know. But first, let me throw another quick travel tip your way. As I've been making my way from city to city on bullet trains, in capsule hotels, and on a cycle ride that left me with probably one of Asia's sorest arses. Don't laugh. Don't laugh.
He's fun, though.
Melody, stop laughing. Serious, let's get this. So as I've been making my way from city to city, I've been using a VPN to protect myself
Which one is it? If it's Atlas, I'm skipping it.
while hopping between public
It's got to be Nord.
Wi-Fi networks. I would highly recommend doing the same. I've been using
Yeah.
NordVPN, who've also supported this video, as well as keeping your data secure as you travel around by
Nice,
disguising your
Sorry.
device. A VPN also allows you to surf the internet as if you're in another country, so you can access streaming services from back home, for example,
Yes.
to help you kill time on a long mountain train ride or in between snacks. Oh, so many snacks. I've also talked in the past about how useful a VPN like NordVPN can be for learning a foreign language, because you can watch streaming services in your target language. I found this
That's
so
true.
useful when I started learning German before I moved there. Oh, and did I also mention that a VPN can save you money as well when you're booking your trip, that is. Some travel
So maybe he does speak German. I'd be interested to see how fluent he is.
websites. Freaky travel websites will hike the prices they show you based on where you're booking from, or if you've been on that site before, but you can scupper this evil scheme of theirs using NordVPN to change your location. What's also cool is that you can use it on up to 6 devices, so you can basically be protected everywhere. Protect your whole family. So go to nordvpn.com/robwords to get an exclusive deal with 4 months for free on a 2-year plan. It's risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee, so basically, what's stopping you?
I know that I could have clicked the jump ahead, but I didn't want to skip his sponsorship.
Okay, let's get into how you can avoid making a fool of yourself
Let's
in
see.
Japanese with some
Please.
easy to remember vocab. So this is the bit where I impart to you which words and phrases I found the most useful to know during my short time here. The aim here is to keep this as simple as possible.
That's a good
no
strategy.
long sentences where a single word can achieve the
Okay.
same thing, and no questions when you're simply not going to be able to understand the answer.
That's a very good point, actually, that he just made. So I'm going to praise him for that. Sometimes when you're going into tourist language, yeah, what's the point with questions? You're not going to understand the answer unless you study the answers very, very well. But oftentimes natives will surprise you. You expect them to tell you one thing, they use another word, you don't understand it. So I mean, you can, but if you are like someone like in this case, he knew absolutely nothing, it does make sense that he's avoiding the questions. Does make sense.
This is all about being efficient, accurate, and most crucially of all in Japan, polite.
Polite,
because
yeah.
the Japanese are the world champions of politeness.
That's
They
true.
make us English seem like louts. And thank you for letting me begin with the word you're perhaps most
Let's see.
likely to already know. Arigato, meaning thank you.
ありがと
Yeah.
A very, very handy one, this one. But did you notice anything about how I said arigato? It's got that R/L in
Yes.
the middle of it. So that's definitely one to try and nail. Once you've done that, it's time to just kick the politeness up a notch with the formal version. Arigato gozaimasu.
う。ありがとうございます。
Did you notice that in the pitch of the recorded voice, which was clearly recorded by someone from Tokyo, and I'll tell you how you can tell them apart from someone from the west of Japan, say Osaka or Kobe, whatnot, that area, Kyoto. She is going up here. Arigato, arigato. Okay, so they go up here and then go down again. This is typical Tokyo. If it was someone from Osaka, they actually go into arigato, and it's like they don't do this up and down, and they keep it high and stress the end. It's one way to recognize the accent. So Tokyo standard arigato, and then yes, gozaimasu.
That's the one you're most likely to use in encounters with strangers.
That's correct, yeah.
Now, did
Very
you
good.
notice anything about how I said that the first time, arigato gozaimasu, other than my apparent Spanish accent? I didn't pronounce that U that you can see
Yes.
at the end. And that's because you don't. The MASU at the end there is a formal suffix that you're going to hear an awful lot in.
Yeah, that suffix is called tene. It's polite speech is one of the different levels or registers of the language. Generally speaking, Japanese has 4 registers. One thing though, and I'm sorry that I have to do this, but what he told you now is incorrect. So I do want to underline this one very quickly. Do a lot of Japanese skip the pronunciation of the U at the end and read it gozaimasu? So arigatou gozaimasu with a s. Yes. But is it true that you don't pronounce it as if it's wrong to pronounce it? No. And I had this conversation with a friend of mine from Tokyo. And I remember I had just moved to Japan. I lived there for 4 years, but I had just arrived. And I actually asked him, I said, so you guys say arigatou gozaimasu or arimasu, desu, whatever you want. Would it be wrong if I said gozaimasu? And he said, no, that sounds absolutely fine. So there are some Japanese speakers, and I have had this experience living there, that do pronounce the U at the end. And in fact, as someone who has lived in Japan and kind of understands the nuances a little bit, most speakers will drop the U. But sometimes I notice that when you do pronounce the U, which in my experience, it kind of conveys a little bit of humility on the part of the speaker. And please let me know if you agree with this. So someone who says, arigatou gozaimasu, they will. It's like it's giving a little bit of a different emotional feel to the word, just by choosing to pronounce the U. And you will hear people say, for instance, I don't know, whatever the heck we want to say, keitai desu, okay? But some people will say, nihonjin desu. You will hear it. So it's not true that it's not pronounced. It's just that I would suggest you not to pronounce it, just drop it. But if you do end up pronouncing it, it's fine.
Restaurants, in railway stations, at supermarket, checkout, and you never pronounce the U at the end of it, which is weird, but whatever. Japanese words always end with either a vowel or an N. That's just a fact. Anyway, for a polite thank you, it's arigatou gozaimasu.
And so the only thing here, he's very well meaning, but he misunderstood because he doesn't have the experience and he's not trained. And again, not trying to shame him. He could shame me because he's an English speaker, of course, native, and I'm not native. So I'm sure that during this video, there are plenty of words that I mispronounce in English. And he could totally come to me and tell me, and that's fine. By the way, I would have no problem. In fact, I would appreciate it. And you guys, you are lovely like that. Every time I mispronounce something, you tell me that's not how it's pronounced, Metatron. And I appreciate it because I'm learning from it. And he seems to me, I don't know him, but he appears to me to be a very humble guy. So I think he'll appreciate these corrections.
Not as some movies and TV series would have you believe, by the way, domo arigato.
Yeah.
I'm told that basically never gets used. Forget it. That's thank you. So what about?
Domo arigato. Some people use it. In fact, some people just say domo, domo, domo. You can use it. Domo arigato. It's fine. It's not true that it's never used, but it's true that arigato and arigatou gozaimasu are the most used. So fine. I'll give that one as a half-truth.
Please. Well, you've actually got 2 options.
Okay.
Kudasai and
Yes.
the slightly harder to digest. Onegaishimasu.
Yes.
Complete with that mas at the end. So
Yeah.
you better know that it's polite.
Yes.
They each have specific uses. For example, you'd only use kudasai when asking someone to complete an action. It goes with verbs. And onegaishimasu is the one to use when asking for a service, like asking a taxi driver to take you somewhere.
That's actually pretty good. He described this well. For those of you who want a deeper understanding of these words, literally, onegaishimasu, it kind of means I pray. It's the idea of the concept of praying. So imagine it, since it's very formal, to give you a good alternative of equivalent in English is when you hear someone, tell me, I pray, tell me. Like that kind of language. Pray, tell me what you wanted to say. Like we hear it sometimes in novels or games and that kind of stuff. And kudasai, it literally means let me receive. So it is used a bit like please, ちょっと待ってください, in connection with verbs, please wait. But it actually means let me receive your waiting. I know it's weird if you think about it that way, but the reason why it's important, I always used to tell my students when I was teaching Japanese, is because there are scenarios in which you use this to mean let me receive. And so it's good that you know that that's what you're actually using. And when you translate it as please, it's not a literal translation, but it's contextual. Nothing wrong with contextual translations, but it's also important to underline what you're actually saying.
But for the tourist purpose
Yeah.
of just, pointing at things you want and saying please,
Yeah, that's fine.
both of them are fine.
Yeah.
Oh, and this one is kore desu, which
Yeah.
is quite useful. Now, the next word, in my experience, is the most useful of all.
So kore, to add a little bit, it means this close to you speaking. So this object would be kore, okay? But if it's close to the person you're speaking to, you cannot use it anymore. To be like, I want this, you can't do it. At that point is sore. And then if it's close to a third person, and it's neither you nor the person you're speaking to, it becomes are. So kore can only be used if the object is close to you, the person speaking. Yeah.
Sumimasen, which
Sumimasen,
means
yeah.
a lot of things, actually, but the closest thing
It's like a
we have to
sorry.
it is excuse me.
Yeah.
Because like excuse me, you can use it to grab someone's
Yeah, that's fine.
attention, like to call a
True.
waiter in a restaurant, for example, Sumimasen.
Yeah.
And also, like excuse me, you can use it as
An apology, yeah.
a little sort of apology. Say you bump into someone in a busy Tokyo station, you can express your
He's right.
regrets
He's right.
politely with sumimasen.
Yeah.
It also has lots of other uses. For example, it can mean thank you when a stranger has done you a good turn. Say they've picked up something you've dropped.
He's absolutely right. In fact, I'm impressed that he got this one right, because this is something that a lot of people do wrongly. So what people do, particularly beginners, when you're learning another language, is that you literally learn the words and then you're applying a skin of your own language over the foreign language. But the reality is that you don't really speak a language until you say things the way they say it, not the way you say it just by swapping words. And a good example of this, as you were saying, someone gives you a gift in Japan. And in fact, even when my employer, Japanese employer, was paying me my salary every month, and he would give it to us physically, believe it or not, banknotes or bills, inside envelopes. Don't ask me why, but that's how it was done. It was all legal, by the way. I was a legal immigrant in Japan, but for whatever reason, they chose cash. When they would give me the envelope that contained the money that was my salary, I would receive it. Usually you receive things with two hands. It's kind of a traditional thing. It's just how it is. As you receive it, you say sorry. Whether it be a gift or something, you say, sumimasen, sumimasen. So you say sorry. It's a matter of politeness. The idea is I'm taking something from you that you're gifting to me, and so I apologize for that. And instead, if you were just translating in your head, you might say thank you. Not that it's that strange, but a Japanese wouldn't do it. And the idea is, whenever you're learning another language, is you want to try to sound as authentic as possible. In order to sound authentic, you need to say things the way they would say it in that context. So he's right. Sumimasen means sorry. So rather than saying that it can mean thank you, it is used in those places where we would say thank you from a Western perspective, but it still means sorry. You're literally apologizing to people because they are gifting you something. Or imagine I drop a brolly on an umbrella and you picked it up for me. I will say sorry rather than thank you. I will say, sumimasen, because I was clumsy and you honorably picked it up for me. And so I am actually apologizing for it.
You can just say thank you with
Cool.
sumimasen.
Yeah.
Learn it and use it.
He's right.
Because it's handy and you'll certainly
Very good.
hear it a lot.
Yes.
Next, how to say hi. So I reckon of all the Japanese words you might already know, konnichiwa
Yes.
is another likely one.
Yes.
And that's great. Use it. It means good day, basically. But if you want to wish someone a
Very good.
good morning, you
Yes.
can also say the delightfully catchy Ohayo. Such an easy one to remember. You can also ramp up.
Problem is, though, it doesn't sound like Ohio. The way he said it sounds like the state, but the Japanese say Ohayo. And when it comes to, Konnichiwa, it kind of stressed the beginning a little bit, and it's one of those patterns that you start low and go high. So konnichiwa and ohayo gozaimasu, if you want to say it like them. Not a big deal, even if you say Ohio, they'll understand it, but it is a lengthened vowel.
The politeness of this one with the gozaimasu that we
Yes,
added to
exactly.
arigato earlier, although you cannot do that with konnichiwa because grammar.
Hey, konnichiwa gozaimasu. By the way, gozaimasu, once again, an opportunity, means there is. It's the same thing as arimasu. So something is in this room, but it's just more polite. So when you say arigatou gozaimasu, if you had to really dissect it literally, it means there is, gozaimasu, there is, and then arigatou, it literally means to have a difficulty. And I think what that means is similar to the concept in English when you say, I'm at a disadvantage, because maybe I don't know something, or perhaps I couldn't prepare myself for guests, right? So the idea is there is a difficulty because you did something for me and I need to thank you for it. So this is the literal translation of arigatou gozaimasu, there is a difficulty. And the reason why knowing that gozaimasu means there is because you will hear it when it's very polite speech and you ask someone, do you have X in this shop or in this restaurant? They might reply, hai gozaimasu, which means yes, there is. Isn't that fascinating?
So ohayo gozaimasu is good morning, and
Yes.
good evening is konbanwa.
Yeah.
Konbanwa. Ohayo and konbanwa.
Konbanwa, rather than he's stressing the ba, but yes, konbanwa.
In my opinion, are easier to learn
He's right.
and remember than
Yes.
konnichiwa. So
Oh, okay.
add those ones to your vocabulary.
Konnichiwa is also used as a little bit of a afternoon as well, if you want. He was correct, though, in the literal translation. It kind of means today, this day. Spelled the same way as kyo, which means today in Japanese. Same spelling, different pronunciation. Welcome to Japan.
And now it's time to say goodbye.
Yeah.
No. The video's
Let's
not
see.
finished.
I want to see which one he chooses.
Stick around. I mean, let's learn the Japanese word for goodbye. So all the books and online articles I read before coming here said I should use this very familiar word, sayonara.
Yeah, sayonara. It's too formal. I imagine he's going to say that, but in Japan, I've used it 3 times in 4 years because it kind of means farewell, forever. Like I'll never see you ever again. God be with you. Godspeed. It's like very, very formal.
So I did. But I noticed a few days in that no one
Said it back
was saying
exactly.
it back to me.
Correct.
So I asked a barman, a guy called Jesse, who runs an amazing Japanese whiskey place called Bar Fishbowl in Kyoto.
Wow.
You should go there. He knows everything about Japanese whiskey.
I'll go.
Anyway, when I asked Jesse why no one was returning my sayonaras, he just laughed and said saying sayonara is like announcing that you're going outside to die.
Well, yeah, it's like I'll never see you ever again. It's like adieu. Yeah, addio. It's precisely that. It's poetic even. Yeah.
Goodbye. We shall never see
Yeah,
each other again.
that's right.
Apparently it's a bit final,
Yes.
like farewell. He told me to use this instead.
Matane. Yes, it's a little informal though, so we'll have to be careful with that one.
Matane.
Yeah.
またね。
Matane.
It basically means see you later. It's
Yeah.
casual, but it is used
Mata means again, so it's like see you again.
a lot. Actually, a few people told me to use this one. There is an even easier one to remember, though, and it's bye-bye. But apparently that is a bit cutesy.
Yeah.
Probably one to avoid. Now, here's a really useful Japanese word if you have a restaurant menu in front of
Let's
you
see.
and you have no idea what is going on. It just looks like gibberish.
Oh, is it going to be osusume?
No handy translation, no convenient pictures to point at. In that case, you can use the magic word omakase.
おま、
Okay, yeah. So omakase, it's actually a type of restaurant. I'm glad he didn't say omakase because it pisses me off when people do that. Or even worse, omakase. No, it's omakase, like you said it. That's correct. And I used to work, by the way, in an Italian restaurant at one point because when I was in Japan, I worked as a translator and interpreter, simultaneous interpreter. But then on weekends, sometimes I would wait. at restaurants. And did I say that right? Wait, well, whatever. And it was an omakase restaurant. So omakase restaurants are restaurants where the chef decides for you. And it's a specific type of restaurant. So you don't pick anything. You just tell them what allergies you have, which they mispronounce alergi. So if they say alergi, it means allergy. But I guess, yeah, you could say that. Omakase to be like, well, I'll leave it up to you. Or you could say osusume wa nan desu ka? But that means, what do you suggest? And then they'll speak and then you won't understand. So I guess this is better. Yeah.
させ、
When the waiter asks you what you want, because
Yeah.
it means
Yeah,
I'll leave it up to you.
exactly. Yes.
Basically, you're telling the waiter or chef to bring you whatever they think is good or whatever
Good
they
luck with
want to
that.
show off. It works a charm.
he's right.
But just be aware that what you end up with might not be the sort of thing that you would have ordered in the first place.
He's correct. Anyways, it's a good video. It's a good video. So he goes into, okaike for the bill. That's right. Genkin is cash. Oh, I want to hear him say sugoi. Sugoi is fun. It means fantastic.
Oishi,
Yes.
which means delicious.
Delicious.
I was actually taught that by a restaurateur in Matsuyama called Maya. She also gave me another great word, which is this one, which she was kind enough to record herself saying for me.
すごい
Thank you very much. It means fantastic.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's a great one to have in your arsenal because things here can get pretty fantastic.
And you can add des for politeness, since he spoke about politeness. All of these are e adjectives. So adjectives, they finish with a e sound. They are the real, actual adjectives rather than adjectival nouns in Japanese. And there is a trick when it comes to pitch accent for those of you who are interested. Every real adjective, and I'm talking 99%, there are just a couple of exceptions, they all have the same pitch if they end with an e and they are true e adjectives. And that is low, high, and then you go low again on the e. So sugoi, 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 kawaii. The second e, because there's two e, kawaii. The second e is when it goes down. Subarashii, natsukashii, omoshiroi. They all do this. So you learn the pitch once, you know the pitch accent for every single true adjective in Japanese. But for formality, you can add des. Not necessary from a syntax perspective. I'll keep this for those who want to actually check out his original video, but generally speaking, I liked the video. A Traveler's Guide to Japanese. Maybe it would have been better to consider it like a beginner's impression on Japanese language or something like this, because again, to write a guide, I think you should know, or at least have some basic training. But because he's so nice, I just can't go further than that, and I do still appreciate. In this case, actually would have made my job a lot easier if he was an asshole or like one of those arrogant people. He's not. He seems really nice. So just wanted to correct a little bit here and there, but generally speaking, I think it's a valid video, and I really enjoyed watching it. What did you guys think?